Afternoon, good evening. I see we have an international audience here today, so thank you everyone for joining in. It is 12 p.m. and in the interest of time, I would like to welcome you to our May Grand Rounds for the Center for Substance Use Research and Related Conditions. My name is Dr. Mercy Mumba. I am the director for the center. And today we have the honor of listening to one of my favorite people in the world, Miss Blossom Rogers, who has such an incredible story of recovery and redemption. I hope that you will all enjoy listening to her story and that it gives all of us hope in terms of just what recovery and community reintegration can look like. We are very proud of all the work that she does. She is serving currently as our community engagement specialist for the Center for Substance Use Research and Related Conditions. And she also serves as an interventionist on our NIH-funded projects. Outside of her regular job, she is an award-winning actress and book author. And we're just very delighted to have her here today. So, Miss Blossom, without further ado, the floor is yours, and we are just excited to hear from you and learn more about your story of recovery and redemption.
Good morning. Can y'all hear me good?
No. Are you muted?
No.
I can hear her.
Okay. Let's see. Is your volume all the way up?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Let's just give me 1 second. Oh, was it me?
Yes.
Y'all,
I
I'm like,
I didn't want to say nothing, supervisor.
Miss Blossom, we can hear you just fine.
Okay.
That was on me.
All right. So listen, I want to say, I'm going to give you $1 for all them nice words you said about me, okay? But this morning, I am truly blessed to be part of this event. My name is Blossom Rogers. I want you, it's two things I like to do. I always like to pray, and I always like to let you know it's okay to laugh because I did some funny things out there. But before we start, if we can all just bow our heads, I would like to say a prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, in the mighty name of Jesus, we come before you, glorifying your name, thanking you for another blessed day. Thanking you for being the God that you are, true, merciful, kind, loving, understanding, all-knowing, wise God. In the name of Jesus, Father, we ask you to forgive us for our sins and unspoken sins. We ask you to bless our families, our friends, and our enemies. But dear Heavenly Father, I ask that I may decrease so that you can increase. And I pray that my story will be able to help someone. We ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, thank you. Nakai, I'm ready. We've got a little short video for you.
Sheltered from a young age, Blossom didn't get to play outside with the other kids growing up. In her younger years, she grew up with her great-grandmother. Friday and Saturday nights at the Brewster house were for drinking. That's where she had her first drink. Her grandmother lived on Palm Street in a big house with a fence around it. There was a hallway in this house that Blossom used to play in. She would ride up and down it in a little purple car. Her grandmother would rent out rooms in this house, and one renter would change the path of Blossom's life. "Do you want to kiss my worm?" he asked, only 4 or 5-year-old Blossom. "We'll let you use your imagination for what happened next." From this point forward, she began to always have a feeling of loneliness. Eventually, she would begin living with her mother and siblings. Feelings of loneliness increased as she never felt accepted by her siblings. They were often mean and sometimes abusive to her. Circumstances would lead Blossom on a path to searching for love and acceptance in the wrong places. She was not searching for addiction, but her search for love led her straight into the arms of it. While it changed her life and took hold for years, we are happy to be able to say that Mrs. Blossom Rogers overcame the trials that life threw at her. She is now a motivational speaker, an author, a business owner, a University of Alabama employee, and loved by many. This is only the beginning of her story.
I would like to thank Nakia for all the work that she done preparing this video. When I first saw it, I wanted to break out crying because it was about my story. But once again, my name is Blossom Rogers. I am a recovering crackhead and a recovering alcoholic. One thing about me, I'm not ashamed of nothing I've been through or anything I've done, because that wasn't me, that was the addiction. I am the proud mother of 3 grown sons, 13 grandbabies, and 3 great grandkids. And I thank God for that, because some of my friends didn't get to see their kids grow up. God bless me. I'm the author of 4 books, From Under a Bridge 1, From Under a Bridge 2, and They Laugh, and When They Laugh. We got 2 kinds of laughter. Are they laughing with you or at you? We're going to start with book 1. Like I said, it's okay to laugh, because laughter is good for the soul. And I know you're laughing with me and not at me, okay? In book number 1, my books have been out since 2011. I tell people, they be saying, well, how can you talk about it? God taught me how to forgive my abuser. And then he taught me how to forgive myself, because as we know, hurt people hurt people. Book number 1, I talk about what led me to smoking crack cocaine. It's always a reason to why we drink and why we get high. I didn't grow up one morning saying I want to be a crackhead. I didn't grow up saying I want to be an alcoholic. When I was coming up, I'm 58 now. I was 5 years old. I went through molestation. I want to speak on that matter because, some people like to sweep things up under the rug. And when I was coming up, we could not go to school and tell nobody anything. And I just want to say we are just as sick as our secrets. So I went through that, and then God bless me, I went to go stay with my mother and my stepfather. And I love my stepfather to this day because he raised me. My heart goes out to him because I'm free. No, he hasn't apologized. No, he hasn't admitted it. But we must remember that the forgiveness is not for the person, it's for us. So I talk about my molestation. I talk about at the age of 5, I took my first drink. My great grandmother was a hardworking woman, only had a 3rd grade education, but she was wise in her with wisdom, every Sunday was my medicine day. You say medicine. I had wingworms when I was a little girl, and she was taught that if a child has wingworms, you give them some beer, and that'll kill the worms. Well, as y'all are nurses, y'all know that is not the remedy. But every Sunday, my nickname was Monkey. And she would say, Monkey, it's time for your medicine. And I would run to the hallway, that same hallway that you saw on the video. And Nakia, that's the original house I grew up in. When Nakia showed it to me, I was all teary-eyed because that's my grandmother's house. In that hallway, the third room on the right is where the first thing happened that I can remember of. So I would run down that hallway, and it took 2 hands to open up the refrigerator. But you know how some kids will fall in love with a horse or merry-go-round or parade? Well, I fell in love with the horse on a can of Coke 45. That's right, Coke 45. When I opened that door and I saw that horse, and it just said, ba-dong, it just had a vibration. And I would run back down the hall. I had a special little cup. It was red. And I would run back down to the hall to give it to my grandmother. I called her Mama. I said, here we go, Mama. She said, no, can't open it up now, Monkey. Just have a seat. And I remember jumping her because she had a swing set on her, the porch. And I would jump on there and be swinging back and forth, waiting for that drink. Never killed wingworms, but I was warm and fuzzy and slept real good that Sunday night. So I talk about that. God bless it. I talk about how I got pregnant at an early age. I was thinking that if I got pregnant, that he would take me away from the molestation. But as we know, a baby don't keep a man. I also talk about how I was involved and got married at a young age. June the 4th, I was walking down the aisle saying I do instead of getting my high school diploma. So that was June the 4th of 2084. As we know, running away from problems don't work, because sometimes we are our own problems. I also talk about how I was involved with the guy. I got involved with the guy, and I knew that he was smoking crack. And I don't know why we think we can change somebody when we could barely change ourselves. We can't change ourselves. It's because of the grace of God I'm sitting here now. But when he started abusing me, I don't think like this now, but growing up, these are things that I saw. And as a child, I soaked it in. I didn't believe that if a man didn't beat you, he didn't love you. That's the sick part, you know. Now I don't think like that now, because you can't re-raise a grown person. And if anybody that knows somebody or anybody that's going through it, get away from it, because it's not gonna get no better. They'll hit you and say they're not gonna do it again, but it doesn't change. In book number 2, I talk about how I been to prison. My prison number is 589931. How I was an unfit mother. How I had been delivered of living a lifestyle of homosexual. I cannot judge anybody, but that wasn't the life for Blossom. We have to love the person and hate the sin. I did a lot of things out there, y'all. I was involved with the guy who was HIV positive. We never had protected sex, but I'm sitting here today with 19 years clean, don't have AIDS and don't have HIV. And I have some people say, oh, your immune system was so strong. No, that was the blood of Jesus that covered me, because I should be dead now. I also talk about my term in prison, how I lost my brother. He was my best friend. And I had a lot of things that I used to use as a crutch to continue to keep getting high. And that was one of them, because no matter what, I was always his big sister. I also talk about how I gave the parental rights to my great-grandmother and my mother, because I knew I was an unfit mother, and I didn't want my kids to go through any kind of abuse on behalf of somebody else because of my carelessness, because I was an unfit mother. I wasn't the kind of mother like Leave It to Beaver's mama with an apron and vacuum. No. In reality, and I'm woman enough to say, I felt like the kids were getting in my way. They were stopping me from getting high. They were stopping me from getting drunk. They were stopping me. So God bless it. I signed parental rights over to my grandmother and them. And I thank God for them, because all my sons are excellent young men, no problems. They're married. They're doing stuff that I wish I could have done at their age. And I thank God for my mother and my great-grandmother. Now I have a relationship with my sons. 19 years ago, my kids didn't want to have anything to do with me because of my addiction. I tell everybody, a little boy's first love is his mother. My boys didn't want to see their mother out there on the streets like that. I wasn't bathing. I was begging all the time. I mean, doing this and doing that. To get a hit of crack. I also talk about how I lost family members and friends, and I did a lot of things that I had no business and wasn't raised to do, because my great-grandmother did her best. But they could do all the good, but once we get out there in the streets, I wanted to fit in, because I never fit in. Going through molestation always made me feel unwanted, because my abuser told me that it was my fault that these things was going on. I didn't understand that. I was trying to figure out, what am I doing for him to do these things to me? But in the long run, also too, I thought that's the way that a dad loves a little girl. That was my sick thinking, but that's what I believe. So I used to try to do good so that he wouldn't do these things to me, and so that he would like me like he did my sisters, because my mother got pregnant at a young age. She was 16 when she had me, 17 when she had me. Then she had another daughter at 18 from another guy. And then she married my stepfather and had 2 kids from him. So being married with 2 children, and it was a big deal back then. So that's how God blessed me to be able to forgive my mother, because for a long time I was mad with her because, they said it was my fault. They told me that I did wrong, but I found out that we deal with generational curses as well. I didn't find out until my mom, she was 60 years old and 66 years old, and she read the book. Now, when the books first came out, it wasn't a good thing, because I had told a family secret. So part of me, I got depressed because this part of me was happy because I was an author, and then the other part was like, oh, they're going to be so mad, and which they were. But I tell people I have to, when I stand before God, I'm going to be accountable if I don't do what he tells me to do. We sometimes, going through molestation as well, people pleasing, I had a problem with that. And I had to remind myself at 58, we can't please everybody. Everybody's not going to be happy. Everybody's not going to come and pat you on the back. You have to encourage yourself. And I just want to say it to somebody, to encourage yourself. Look in the mirror. I used to have hair, but now I deal with a girl called alopecia, but I still look in the mirror and say, I love you, because you have to do these things to be able to help yourself. So I also talk about how I was starting to be the getaway driver, just doing things that I was not raised to do. I was always fighting, man, fighting a woman. And you know what? I've come to realize that I wasn't doing nothing but fighting myself, because I was my worst enemy. I talk about how I went from city to city and state to state, and I always ended up in a crack house. And I used to say, how did I end up here? And it was because I brought my worst enemy, which was myself. Sometimes people don't, sometimes we think people be against us. People got too much to do to be worried about you at times. That's at times now. And that's the enemy, wants to keep your mind all clustered and keep you confused and depressed. And we're at the point that you don't want to do anything because they're going to talk about you. I also talk about how I was involved with the guy and he left me for another guy. These things do happen, what I'm saying? And I let people know, now I understand that I had to go through these things so that I'll be able to help the next person. Because you can't help somebody if you haven't been through it. I can't tell some people can have empathy, but I have that and sympathy, because I know what it is to have sold the food from your children. I know my great grandmother, she raised me, and I remember I got one of her credit cards, and she had told me, she said, Monkey, when I die, everything gonna go to you. And in my addiction, I had got one of her credit cards, and I ran it to up to $2,000. And so I went to jail for another issue. But about a week after I had been in jail, they called me down to the control room where it was the police officers. And my grandmother, she used to always tell people, Monkey didn't do that, and I'll be behind them, nah, and did most of the stuff, most of it I did do. But she would not let anybody blame me for anything because I was her baby, what I'm saying? I was the first great grand, I missed living with her, but I wasn't able to go and play with other kids. So I urged to go and stay with my mom and my sisters, which was, they used to beat me up, because they knew that I was my great grandmother's favorite. And we have to be careful with that too, because when we're choosing kids over each other, that's not a good thing. We have to love them. We love them, but we need to treat them equally, because as kids, we pick up on a lot of stuff. These children nowadays, they so smart. I got grandbabies and great grandkids that are able to run a telephone, a tablet, and I be asking people questions, but I'm just talking about the times have changed. So when it brought me out to the control room, I was with the guy and he didn't activate the card. He didn't spend any money. But the police and my great grandmother was trying to make me say that he did. One thing about me, if I did it, I did it. But if I didn't do it, I didn't do it. I was like ever since I was a little girl. So I couldn't let him take the rap for something I had did. Now my great grandmother and the police officer was disappointed because my grandmother was just determined that man did it. My monkey didn't do that. But so it, God bless it. I just couldn't go through with that. A lot of things when I was going and doing things, I had a conscience, but I still just overlooked it and just continued to keep doing what I want to do, when I want to do it, and how I want to do it, because I had to pay for my drugs. People will give you something, but then I thought, wow, you done played yourself out. Like when people let me sleep on their couch and everything, is because I had drugs to give them. But once the drugs was gone, the cigarettes was gone, the beer was gone, I had to go. So I learned that a hard way. I talk about, like I said, with the guy who was HIV positive. I stayed with him for a long time. He ended up going to jail for a violation of probation. I checked myself into the hospital and I wanted to get some treatment. So I had my test taken the very first time having the HIV test. And I prayed to God. I said, Lord, please, because I had found out that he was positive. But by the grace of God, like I said, I'm still sitting here, don't have AIDS, don't have HIV. Once he got out, he ended up getting us a place to stay. And once I got out, my last charge, which is that picture that you saw, was an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Because like I said, I was a fighter out there. And God blessed it with it. It was a felon, and I was supposed to went back to prison. I did things. I remember I set the house on fire with me in it because I had got so depressed. I remember hitting people with cars, running people over. I remember threatening people because I just had a violent inner person. But I loved people, but I just had a violent inner part of me. So like I said, once I got out of jail, we got right back together. Knowing that he was positive, got right back together. That's the insane part, that's what, with the addiction, I just didn't care. And going from jail to jail, rehab to rehab, mental institution, because I spent some time in the mental hospital, was misdiagnosed, but I end up just finding out what my diagnosis was major depression. So I'm a certified peer support specialist for drugs and for mental health, and just got certified faith-based substance abuse, so where I can help people in the church. So I thank God for all these certifications. And if it's God's will, October the 10th, I'll be taking my test again to become a drug counselor. I missed about 63 points. So I'm just asking for a prayer, because that's my desire as well, to be a drug counselor. But this one night, I was sitting in the crack house in Daytona Beach, because that's where my addiction happened. Everything happened in Florida. I had joined the church, but when you backslide, it's 7 times worse. And just like with the drugs, once we are clean and sober, you go back out there, it's 7 times worse. I tell people to this day right now, I would rather for God to call me back home before I go back out there smoking, because, I tell people we had to play the tape all the way through. Don't stop at the good times, because I had some good times out there. I liked it, everything about the smoking the drugs. I didn't like the consequences that came with it. So when you could be true to yourself, and Blossom could be true to herself, I could be true to anybody else. Right now, I'm just looking at pictures of people sitting here. Even if I saw your face personally, I still wouldn't be ashamed to tell my story, because I wasn't ashamed when I was out there, so I can't be ashamed now. So I still have the shirt, the shoes, and the purse I had on that night in that crack house. Now, I don't know what I had on at the bottom. It was probably one of those nights, but I do have them items. And so I remember being in this crack house in Daytona Beach. And I remember the young lady, was all in one room at one time, but I kept feeling something tugging on me, just tugging on me. And I knew what it was. It was the Lord. He was telling me to come forth, come up out of there. But the flesh was like, no, you got some more high in you. And I was smoking that night, y'all, because I used to smoke $500 to $600 or more a day. In Florida, if you have an addiction with alcohol, drugs, whatever, we got a disability check. So that's how I was able to get high. And once the check ran out, then I had to go out there and grind and get what I had to get. So I didn't want to be around nobody because I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. This time I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so I remember going into the kitchen, and I remember pulling a chair, and I had a piece of paper in my purse and a pencil, and I started writing God a letter. I wish I kept that piece of paper, but I didn't know how important it would be part of my testimony. But I end up losing, but I still have them. These items, I tell people, if my house was to catch on fire, I would want to make sure I grab them items because they mean so much to me. Because you have people that say, oh, if I was you, I could do this. But you don't know what you would do in that time. Nobody could tell me if they haven't walked in my shoes mentally or physically, it's nothing, nobody. I will listen to what you got to say, but eat the meat and throw the bone away. If it's not going to help me stay clean and sober, I don't want to have anything to do with it because I'm just a hit or a drink away. I don't never forget where I came from. So then I was in there and I still was getting high. And I have people asking me, you was getting high, writing God a letter. He already knew where I was. If he waited for the woman at the well, he waited for me, So I remember the young lady who owned the apartment, she came into the kitchen. She said, you okay? I said, yeah, I'm all right. So she gave me another hit of crack. And I told her, I said, the next time you see me, I'll be clean and sober. And she laughed. I said, okay. So she walked out. And I tried to get high, but I just couldn't do it. And my fingers was hurting, my lips was hurting, I was hurting, my feet was hurting, I was just hurting. And I wanted the pain to go away. But if we want better, we have to do better. So I remember God telling me it's time. And I remember putting the purse on my shoulder and I walked out that crack house and it's been 19 years. And if it's God's will, June the 4th, I have 20 years clean. And it's all because of God, not because of me. So I remember checking myself back into the hospital. And I begged them people, I said, please don't let me go until you find me a place. Because I knew I was going to end up dying like this. Somebody was going to kill me or I was going to kill them. That's how hard it had gotten, breaking in people's houses, what I'm saying? Things that some of my friends did. I used to run across the railroad track in a car and on feet. One of my dearest friend, she did it one time and the train killed her. God saved me. I have one friend who is dying now of AIDS, full-blown AIDS. And at times I feel guilty talking with her because I did the same thing she did, but I'm clean. But no matter what we go through, when God has a calling on your life, there's nothing nobody no one can or nothing can do to stop you from what we all have a destiny. And so we need to, it's not, yes, we all work here at the UA, but we also have a destiny. What is your destiny? Seek God and ask him, what else am I supposed to be doing? So the young lady who was doing my assessment, she said, Blossom, I'll be right back. And I was sitting and I was like, Lord, please don't let her come back and say, I have to leave, because I felt so secure in there because I couldn't hurt myself and I couldn't hurt nobody else. So she came back and she said, Blossom, are you willing to be relocated? I said, yes, ma'am. Some people have to be changed their people, places, and things. Now I have some friends back in my hometown who are able to stay clean and sober. They could take a sip of wine. I've been seeing people how they say, I'm home from work and I got a nice bottle of wine and or beer. The water looks good coming down from there. But see, if I do that, it's not going to be good. So I don't play with stuff like that. I don't go in areas where I know it's going to be drinking. Not saying that I'm better than anybody, but I want to stay clean and sober. Okay, so I had to do what's right for Blossom. So God bless it. They came and picked me up on a Wednesday, and they took me down to Miami. And I said, if I play the games I did in Daytona, they're going to kill me down here, because anything you see on TV about Miami, believe them. I remember up under that bridge, I still have to remind myself to this day, straighten your legs out, because I slept in a fetal position for so long till I had to remind myself, Blossom, straighten your legs out. Because as we know, the enemy wants to keep us bound. But when Jesus went to the cross, he freed us. So for anybody out there, don't stay bound. We all got a bridge. My bridge might not be yours and yours might not be mine, but we all got a bridge. So come from up under your bridge and live. So like I said, once I got to Miami, I started going to inpatient. And then I did my outpatient. And I stayed. I didn't go back around my people, places, and things. Started working for a research company down there. And the young lady who trained me, she was from Alabama, and she became one of my best friends. And she was a nurse, which was in recovery as well. And so when she trained me, that meant I had to train other people. Now, I'm the kind of person, you show me, or let me hear, I got it just like that. I've always been like that. So when I was showing the other females what to do when they came to work at the research company, they were getting paid more than me because they had their credentials. So I got mad about that, but I had to do something about it. So God bless it. I went to school down in Miami. I took my diploma and my certification to become a medical assistant and passed it. Got remarried again and moved here to Alabama. And I tell people, we're going to go through life issues, but we don't have to go back. Now, my second husband, we're divorced due to love. And people say love. I said, yes, he loved other women and brought another woman in my home. I was the kind of person that got high if a bird got killed. I didn't need no reason. But this time was very serious. I had 7 years clean, and I had that 7-year itch. And I remember when the lady called me and told me how she had been in my house. Well, the old Blossom, I was like, I need to go just cut her or set the house on fire, because that's what's my pattern. But I loved being clean and sober. I loved looking in the mirror at somebody, not something. I loved that people were saying, hey, Blossom, how you doing? Because back in the days, you know how some people look out the mirror and say, oh, here come Mary. Well, when they looked at the blinds and saw me, they said, oh, Lord, here come Blossom. They would pick up their whole house and move, because that's how was out there. People didn't want to be around me. Like now, when I walk down the halls and people could be down to the other end, hey, Blossom, how you doing? That means so much to me, because I wasn't welcome back in the day. Like when I won the award, I was just blown away, because Miss Ernestine Tucker, she's one of my mentors as well. And so when, they started talking about it, I was like, that's so good. I'm so happy for the person. And when my name was called, I couldn't do nothing but say God, because that's who did it. Every time I look at that award and several other awards that I have received for Best Female Author of the Year, it's just truly a blessing. It is truly a blessing. I tell people to remember my name, because I'm going to be a millionaire. And God's going to bless me to travel the world telling my story. That's my desire, is to travel to the world telling my story. So like I said, once we got the divorce, I really had to pray and ask God what to do. I had so many older women that were in the church telling me to stay. But you have to do what's right for you. And I wanted to do right by God, because I was the type of person that did anything, everything out there. So we got a divorce, but I didn't go back to getting high. Very first time buying a home, I lost it to foreclosure. Due to after the divorce, I couldn't afford it. But I didn't go back to getting high. The bank gave me relocation money, so I was able to get another rental. And I was in the house one morning listening to TD Jakes, and I opened the front door and my car was gone. So I'm like, maybe I parked somewhere else, knowing it was only one driveway. It was repo, but I didn't go back to getting high. People say, how can you laugh about it? Because God kept me. He's a keeper. He's a head lifter, you know. He keeps us and allows no harm to come to us. But you gotta want to be kept. My father and I used to get high and drink together. I am a licensed minister. I'm an ordained evangelist, and God had anointed me to be able to go back and do my father's funeral. You know, I've lost a lot of friends out there. You know what I'm saying? But I give God all the glory and the honor. And working here for the University of Alabama is just truly a blessing. When I got hired, my supervisor, Austin, you know, her and Dr. Mercy, they went to bat for me. They really did, and I thank them for that, you know, because when I found out that my diploma that I got from Miami, it was a fraud, but God still is a keeper. So now I am a proud diploma person now. And the people everybody that was involved with the situation, they worked hard to get me here. And that was 2020. So I've been with y'all 4 years now. Now, am I perfect? No. I used to send emails everywhere, and Dr. Mercy, she'll say, it's okay, Miss Blossom. You're trying. I know she wanted to say, get out of here, you know what I'm saying? But they're very patient with me. And one thing about it, if I don't understand something, I'm going to ask questions. I used to be embarrassed because I've worked with people that, you know, have their credentials. I mean, have alphabets behind their name. Well, I got JESUS behind my name. That's how I'm able to sit here today, because he had people to believe in me, and I believe in myself. So like I said, then I started writing the books and started traveling, and God started opening up doors. So God's blessing me. I've been on Pastor Clifford Dollar show. I've done 5 projects with TBN. I've had my own TV show. I was on another young lady's show. And I remember looking over to her and saying, thank you for allowing me to, because we were on a break. And I said, thank you for allowing me to come and share my story. She said, Blossom, thank you for being transparent. And being transparent is not just for the show, but it's for Blossom as well, because we're just as sick as our secrets, okay? Everybody can't handle the truth. You know, you have people that's going to talk about you. You have people that makes fun about, you know, stuff. Long as they don't put their hands on me, we doing just fine. Words are words. I tell people too, we also have to be careful of our words, because I would rather have gotten a lick back in the days than a word, because it does stick with you, you know. So it's up and down. It's up and down. So I remember saying to myself, and because I was looking up in the sky and I seen all the big lights up there, and I remember saying, I wish, but the cameraman pointed for us to let us know what's coming back on the air. So nobody heard me say that but God. So after we did the show, they were unmicing me. The producer came out and he said, great job, ladies. We said, thank you. And he said, Blossom. I said, yes, sir. He said, when you're ready, we got a TV show for you. I said, who are you talking to? Me? Now, back in the days, I would have sold your TV and your TV, but God bless me. I had my own TV show, and we used to shoot it every month. I used to have to travel to Tupelo, Mississippi to shoot 4 shows. And now, when I was coming up, it was a little girl named Blossom, the Blossom Show, for some that remember. But if you Google Blossom Rogers, you'll be able to see some of my TV shows. And the shows were pertaining to people that had been through some hardship and are on the other side. You know, once we get to the other side, you know, that's what our motive is, to get to the other side. We're going to go through, but how are we going to go through? Are we going to go through feeling sorry for ourselves, or are we going to go through trusting God? Not saying it's easy, but the faith of a mustard seed. That's all he's asking. So God bless it. Yeah, no, last November, I was on a young lady. You know, a lot of people say, Blossom, how do you get on all these shows? Do you have a PR person or a manager? I said, no, I'm still a hustler. You know, I'll be a hustler till the day I die, but I hustle for God now. So the same way I used to knock on doors at night, asking the dope boy, can I do this or do that for a hit of crack? It's the same way I do when it comes to people with TV shows. You gotta put yourself out there. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's not gonna. They'll tell you, I'll be there for you. I'll do this, but I've learned many a time you can't depend on nobody but God. Now, if they do what they say they're gonna do, that's truly a blessing. Truly, truly a blessing. So like I said, that's how I got on all the shows. So many contests that I have won, removed the bandages of women that have been through a lot of things. I was able to wear evening gowns. One of my friends, her film came out in Los Angeles, so I was able to be on the red carpet. Now, back in the days, I'd have sold a carpet, but I was able to be on the red carpet with my evening gown. And it's just, you know, and then God bless me. I was working with a group out of Atlanta, Fayetteville, North Carolina, which they're shooting a film, and it's called A Grandmother's Face. Well, they called me this one night, and they said, Miss Blossom, they said, we're getting ready to shoot a film, and we had to be careful of what we say because we could talk ourselves out of a blessing. And so I'm saying to myself, well, what that got to do with me? Because I can't stay up past 8 o'clock sometimes. You know, I can't stay up all night like I used to. And this was 10 o'clock at night. So, you know, I was looking crazy. But God, they said, and we want to offer you a part. And I was like, who? I ain't never acted before. So at this time, they was telling me more about the film, and I remember saying, oh, that's good. And then so I said, well, so what part do you want me to play? I'm thinking somebody just waving, because I'd have been happy with that, just waving. They said, we want to offer you the lead part. So I'm thinking, I said, is y'all talking to the right person? They said, yes, ma'am. They went to laughing because they was on the speaker. I said, so do I need to audition? And the cameraman said, no, ma'am, you have favor. So it'll be coming out. It's called A Grandmother's Faith, and I played Miss Maybelline Johnson. It was truly an honor playing the part because the young man, this is his life story. He used to be a big time drug dealer, and he had got busted and ended up doing some Fed time. But his grandmother was always there for him. She was the backbone of the family. The reason that we stopped production is because the real grandmother passed away. So we're just waiting for him to get himself together. So it's going to be out soon. November, God bless it. My documentary came out, From Under a Bridge. I'm so excited because last month I found out that we've been nominated for Best Documentary of the Year. We'll find out June the 22nd. It'll be held, the award ceremony will be held in Virginia. I pray to God I'll be able to raise some funds to be able to travel, because I would love to be there. It's little moments that nobody can ever take away from me. Little moments, you know. So like I said, just being able to just tell my story. I love talking. You know, when I was a little girl, you know, your gifts will make room for you, but your character would keep you in the room. And I remember when I was coming up, the teachers used to say, Blossom, you're talking too much, because I was a class clown. I used to think that if I made people laugh, it made me laugh. It made me feel good. And it made me forget about what I was going through at home. So when I'm on show, you know, the host be wanting to laugh so bad because I just said something. That's why I tell people it's okay to laugh, because I did some crazy. We homeless and we out there robbing another homeless man. You know what I'm saying? We did some crazy. I did some crazy things out there. I can't talk about nobody else, but I blossomed there. So like I said, just I want to leave my generation a dynasty, not just funds, but wisdom as well. Because you know, somebody tried to throw up my past to my sons, then they could say, well, yeah, she did this, but this is what she did with the rest of her life. Last March, I went home. It was 5 other women and myself. my town purchased Mary Bethune McLeod's original little house, and they put it into the park. They beautified the park. But next to it is a Black Heritage, Mary Harold Black Heritage Museum. Now, this is the same hometown people have spit on me, kicked me, because I put myself in predicament in places, and I put myself there, so they did. It's just like a person has the gun and you have the bullets and you give them the bullets, they're supposed to shoot everything they got. So the same museum, I was put into the museum up on the wall with my picture and my copy of my book. So when my grandchildren and my great-grand and my great-grand go through this museum, they'll see the grandmama up there and say, that's my grandmama. You know, when I FaceTime with my little my great-granddaughter, she's 3. I say, who am I? She said, you're grandma. So for them to say grandma and to be a great grandmama at 58, you know, I'm not the one to gossip, but you know, once I get a good girl, it's on then. But just to say that I'm a great grandmother is truly a blessing. So God has blessed me. I went before Habitat almost 8.5 years ago. And I was telling them my story. And I was asking them, because I am a nonprofit from Under a Bridge, Safe Haven Home for Women, telling them my story, because moving from Miami, there's nothing here. And now I want to really focus on and talk to you about the project, because God told me to start here. I wanted to start in my hometown because I had an older pops that told me, Blossom, he used to call me Sugar Lump. He said, Sugar Lump, wherever you messed up at, that's where you clean up at. Okay. But I heard the Holy Ghost tell me, start here. So God bless it. I got my nonprofit, went before Habitat, and she said, Blossom, as soon as you get your status, get back with us and we'll see what we can do. Now, I said, they ain't gonna do nothing. I don't know. But I continue to keep pressing forward. So when I got my status in 2014, I called. Miss Ellen is her name. Truly love her to death. And she took me up under her wing. She said, oh, Blossom. She said, we had a meeting. We had a board meeting. Here we go. They had another meeting about Blossom. She said, we can't build the house, but we're going to give you a piece of land that we're never going to use. And I almost fell over. I was like, who give land away? But I didn't complain. So she said, but. I said, oh, here we go. There's a but. She said, but you're going to have to get the lawyer to change the deeds over. So we have to be careful how we treat people, because you don't never know when you might need somebody. One of my spiritual brothers, I called him. I said, bro, I said, they're giving me some land. I said, but they say I got to pay a lawyer to get. I said, I just don't have the money, because I don't. I'm just stepping out here on the wing in a prayer. I don't have the money, you know, but one thing I remember, if God orders it, he's going to pay for it. That's what keeps me going, because I've had a lot of no's. I've heard, no, we can't do this. No, we can't help you. Go somewhere else. But like I said, this home will be for women, helping them get off the street, because if they don't have a safe place to go, they'll go back to the people, places, and things. So God bless it. He got me in contact with a lawyer. The lawyer did the paperwork, and he was going to allow me to pay him every 2 weeks. So the last day he put the period on the paper, he said, Blossom, this one's on me. So now I got the land. Now I got the deeds. The young lady who designed the home, it's a 3-bedroom, 2 baths, washer, dryer, kitchen, nook area. These women can stay 8 months to a year. It's a transitional housing, because if you let them set their limit, we'll use it as a flop house. And this home will be helping them to get a job, go back to school, helping them get the kids back, transitioning back out into the world. So she was going to let me pay her every 2 weeks. So we met at Barnes & Noble so she could sign the papers over to me. She said, Blossom, you told me you are an author. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, well, I'm going to the beach and I don't have a thing to read. If you give me a signed autograph copy, we'll call it even. I remember running because my books are on the shelf here in Tuscaloosa. I remember running to the biography department and grabbing a book and signing it. And so that's how God paid for the blueprint. I had a woman of God who gave my building permit was 1501. I said, Lord, I don't have no $1,500. But I had a woman of God, we was talking, she said, Blossom, I hear the Lord telling me to give you $1,000. You know how your granddaughter or your child say, pick me up? I was waiting for God to pick me up. So I only had $500 in my account. I said, now if I do that, I'm gonna be broke. She said, I'll tell you what, Blossom, I'll give you the whole $1,500. God has me so spoiled with this project. I said, so I got to put the dollar in, and we went to laughing. I tell you the truth, when I went to the city hall to pay for the building permit, I didn't have a dollar bill. I had 15 $100 bills and 4 quarters. So that's how God paid for that. So like I said, it's a process. At times I can't give up because it's a burning desire. It's a burning desire. And I know what he told me to do. So I got to keep on pounding, keep on asking, you know. I'm not ashamed to ask. And so, like I said, I want to really put that out there for help getting this home built for women. Now, the first house will be for women. My second home will be called Tears from Under a Bridge, because I cry many tears under that bridge. And that'll be for women and children. My desire is I want to build homes all over the world for women. And he hasn't told me to deal with men yet, but if he say for men, okay. I was wondering, because on my land, I don't have anything. God bless it. I've got somebody who helps me keep the land now, and he doesn't charge me a lot because, like I said, I don't get grants. He lets me pay him in installment. Like I said, the home is beautiful. The blueprints are. And so, like I said, just put that out there. If anybody knows anyone who would like to take us on as a project or to partnership, just give them my name, Blossom Rogers. They could reach me on Facebook, Blossom Rogers. My email is BLOS2white@yahoo.com. My phone number is 305-753-8164. I get a lot of calls from females and guys. And so I remember I asked this one young lady, I said, can I ask you a question? Because I have other friends that have their facilities up and running, so I'll give their names to the young ladies. But I remember asking this young lady one time, I said, can I ask you one thing? She said, yes, ma'am. I said, how did you find out about me? Because I don't have no building on my land. She said, if you Google homeless shelter from under a bridge, Safe Haven Home pops up. So I took that as God let me know I haven't forgot about you. Keep on pressing, because the blessing is in the pressing. Then a couple of weeks after that, I had an older guy to call me because he was trying to help this young lady off the street. And I had to let him know, sir, do not let her take advantage of you, because that we will do that. And I didn't want him to be used. So when he was talking, he said, well, I hope you can help me. He said, because I called the sheriff department and they gave me your number. And I was like, wait a minute, back in the days, the sheriff was looking for me. Now they're helping me. So like I said, my name is Blossom. The name of the books are From Under a Bridge 1, From Under a Bridge 2, and They Laugh, and When They Laugh. Like I said, don't give up on your dreams. We all got dreams. We all got bridges. Come from up under your bridge and live. And with that being said, I just want to say thank you for taking the time out to register, to listen to me. And I know you probably was laughing, and it's okay because I told you to laugh. But like I said, and I thank Dr. Mercy for allowing me to sit at the round table. And thank y'all.
Miss Blossom, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Just amazing story, and just wow in terms of everything that you've been through and the fact that you're still standing and still positive. I'm just thoroughly impressed. Now, you know, you and I have conversations all the time. So we're going to open up. We have about 7 minutes. If anybody has a question, comment for Blossom, this is the time. The floor is open, and mute yourself, and I'm sure she'll be happy to take your questions or just clarify anything that she said.
Don't be shy. You can ask me.
People are saying, thank you, Blossom. This was so wonderful. Your story is inspiring. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for having the courage to tell your story. God bless your mission. Dr. Whitty said she loved the video. Just amazing. I loved that video too. Nikaya, you did such a great job
Yeah, she really,
with that. So thank you.
Blossom, I have a question.
yes, ma'am.
You know, with your experience and with your interest in working with women and children, we have a lot of laws in Alabama that make it difficult for providers to work with women who are pregnant or have children. And so there's this balance between, you know, helping them get in recovery and stay in recovery, and also help them be a mom and a parent. But then we have these laws in the background that are like, send them to jail, send them to prison, this is a felony. How do we work in that world? What would be your advice, or how we can best help people moving forward?
Well, first of all, go in prayer and ask God to give you the words, because words matter. You know, sending us to jail and prison is not, it's not going to stop anything. Allowing them to go and deal with their issues, treatment, you know what I'm saying? We got to just continue to keep saying, send them to treatment. Now, I'm not saying that some of the crimes don't need to go and pay time. I'm not saying that, but we got to push treatment for these people. We got to be their backbone, because locked up, they'll throw away the key and forget about that. Listen, I know, you know what I'm saying? But pushing the issue, going to, I'm trying to get a meeting with the governor. That's how I'm trying to, I can't find no connection now, but I'm not going to give up, you know? And I'm just going to talk to her the way I'm talking to y'all. We need some help out here, because if not, you're going to continue to have a cycle round and round and round, but keep pushing it. And if you ever need me to talk, you know, Miss Trish, you can call me, girl. You know you can.
Thank you.
Olayala has a question. What would you advise people with multiple relapse in terms of staying strong and getting back on course?
It depends on what level of care they go to. Somebody that's got 10 relapses, they don't need to be in an outpatient. They need to be inpatient. Being misdiagnosed, like I was when it came to my co-occurrence. Yeah, I know that word now because I got that on my test coming up. But you got to find out what is the diagnosis, because I had been diagnosed schizophrenia, bipolar, and it's just major depression. But they had me on different kind of medications, and I still was drinking, I still was smoking crack, and it's by the grace of God that I'm sitting here. Instead of keeping them or using them as a number 5544, get and sit down with the person. Take time. When we see that somebody's taking time with us, that really helps us a lot. Not having a clipboard, not looking away, just sitting down and hearing their story and just letting them know, okay, well, I think that you need to be a 3.5. Now, we've tried the outpatients, and, you know, we've tried transition houses, but I really think that you need to be a 1.0, because some people need that. Some people need that. So finding out what their background is, that's what's going to help.
Thank you, Blossom. And just, you know, understanding that no one approach fits everybody. And so having that individualized care is also very, very important, like you said, to find out what is meaningful to them, what have they already done, what have they not tried, and the level of care that is appropriate for their severity in terms of their drug use is also very important. Well, thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Blossom.
We're so used to having a cookie cutter treatment plan. People were being put in parenting and that didn't have kids, you know what I'm saying? And remember that there's different avenues to recovery. Mine was going to church, you know, some be AA, some be NA, but whatever's going to help them, That's what we're trying to find out. And thanks again.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, everyone. We have come to the top of the hour. I
I have a
appreciate
quick
you.
question.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Blossom, thank you again for sharing your story. I had a quick question about your publishing journey. I'm also an aspiring writer who wants to be an author, and I would love to know how you got started publishing books.
Right from the heart, and girl, I got a good publishing company for you that's not gonna charge you, because the first people they cut my neck off, but I was so excited. But get in touch with me. I got somebody good, and she'll work with you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Welcome.
I'll pay a visit to your office this week.
Okay, Precious.
Amazing. I love connections, connections, connections. Well, thank you, everybody. Like I said, I appreciate you making the time. This is our last grand rounds for this academic year. We will be back in August with our academic year, but be on the lookout for additional content from the Center for Substance Use Research and Related Conditions. If you haven't followed us on your social media platforms, please do that. We are on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And I think Nikaya is trying to work on a YouTube channel. So we are growing and evolving. So please follow us. And if you have any questions or suggestions for future speakers, please send that to Nikaya and myself, and we'll be happy to consider them. Thank you so much. And I hope that you have a wonderful month ahead. Welcome to the month of May, and wishing you a wonderful rest of the summer.
And
Bye-bye.
happy birthday, Miss Mercy.
Thank you, Miss
Today's her birthday.
Blossom.
Happy birthday.
Yes, today's
She
my
gonna give
birthday. All righty, yo. Have a good one.